Hello and welcome to another event broadcast by the Florida Aviation Network through an effort of the National Aviation Safety Foundation. I'm Ron Timmermans, a pilot and flight instructor from Orlando, Florida, and I serve as one of the many hosts for the Florida Aviation Network, which highlights aviation events from across the United States. The Florida Aviation Network's education and training is free to the public and is dedicated to improving aviation safety. Hey, have you heard of the General Aviation Awards? Well, that's great if you're already familiar, but if not, let me tell you. Selecting winners for these prestigious awards is a cooperative effort between the FAA and various members of the aviation industry, and is meant to recognize excellence in our industry's professions of flight instruction, aviation maintenance, and by our FAA Safety FAASTeam representatives. It includes 3 levels of competition, with nominees being reviewed first at the local FAA Flight Standard District's office, FAASTO as we call it, at that level, where a winner is declared in each of the aforementioned areas. There are winners at each of more than 70 FAASTOs, and these FAASTO winners are next reviewed at the 4 FAA regional levels for selection as the regional CFI, aviation technician, and FAASTeam rep winners. Finally, these nominees are forwarded to a General Aviation Industry Committee for selection of the national winners in each category: CFI of the Year, National Aviation Technician of the Year, and National FAASTeam Rep of the Year. Each year, the Florida Aviation Network recognizes the FAA's regional award winners from our geographic region in each of these categories and presents them with a special plaque recognizing their accomplishments, and broadcasts a live interview with them during the annual Sun and Fun Aerospace Expo event in Lakeland, Florida. However, this year, Sun and Fun was canceled, as you may remember. So we decided to showcase these winners in pre-recorded interviews broadcast by the Florida Aviation Network, and that is what you are now watching. I'm pleased now to introduce you to one of these special GA award winners, Mr. Gary Brossett from Midland, Georgia. Gary is the Regional FAASTeam Representative of the Year and also the National FAASTeam Representative of the Year. Gary, please accept my heartiest congratulations on your accomplishments and well-deserved award. Welcome to our broadcast.
Oh, thank you so much, Ron.
Well, very good. Well, Gary, it's good to have you here. Could you tell our audience, give us a few highlights from your professional career in aviation?
Well, I started my career in aviation in the Air Force. I spent 25 years as a mechanic. I was a jet engine mechanic in the Air Force. So I'm a career A&P. When I retired in 2005 from the United States Air Force, I took a position at Pratt & Whitney, where I currently work as a quality engineer and still working with the jet engine maintenance, repair, and overhaul business. And then settled down here in actually my hometown after I retired, and it worked out real nice working at Pratt & Whitney and being right here in my hometown.
Which is near Columbus, Georgia, did you say?
Yes, we're on the outskirts, just a suburb of Columbus, Georgia.
Very good, very good. And so in your efforts with Pratt & Whitney, you're working on jet engines for various aircraft or specific models or what?
Well, we currently do the maintenance, repair, and overhaul for the A320 series aircraft and the A220, both made by Airbus. It's the new Pratt & Whitney geared turbofan engines. We're an overhaul center for those engines.
I see. And how many of those aircraft engines do come through your shop, say, in a month or a year?
Well, we've been ramping up now for the past couple of years. This year, we're up to over 250 shop visits for this year. Next year, we're hoping to be over 300 shop visits. So it's almost to the point where an engine comes in the door each day and an engine goes out the door each day.
Wow. And so the engine repair is what? Disassemble and reassemble with new parts or tweaked up parts or what?
Well, what we do is we disassemble, inspect, replace with new for some of the parts, repair some of the parts, and then reassemble the engine and test it right in our facility.
I see.
Before it goes back to the airline customer.
And is this the only Pratt & Whitney facility like this in the nation, or is there others as well?
We're currently the only repair facility for the geared turbofan engine in North America.
I see.
They're
So
standing up. Go ahead.
So you get to see them all then, huh?
Yeah, we stay pretty busy. So.
I bet you do. I bet you do. And then one time-related question because of what's happened to our air travel industry in the current pandemic and our response to it. Has the number of engines coming through there decreased, about the same, or have they actually increased because the airplanes are not being flown?
Well, actually, we just had a discussion about this in the past week. Our general manager explains that we're in a privileged position, as far as the airline industry goes with the repair business, because the work continues to come. So the airlines still need the work done. They need modifications, service bulletins, airworthiness directives completed. So our workload continues, and we continue our ramp up because of the amount of sales of the aircraft and engines that they've done in recent history.
I
So
see.
we're like he said, we're in a privileged position by having workload. So we're not like so many of the aviation related businesses, forced with scaling down their workforce because of the decrease in air travel.
That's a benefit for you, a real blessing. Well, I'm glad to hear that. And Gary, you've been involved with the FAASTeam as a FAASTeam rep, the FAA safety team as a FAASTeam rep for a number of years now. Tell us about your work with the FAASTeam. Are you a lead rep?
Yes, I am a lead rep. I started with the FAASTeam before it was the FAASTeam. And then we were called back in 2005 Aviation Safety Counselors. And then I remember to the day, my manager up in Atlanta at the FSDO, he called me up and he said, "Gary, I'd like to offer you a promotion. I'm going to double your pay from what you've been getting." And he offered me a position as a FAASTeam representative.
Yeah.
So I accepted that position, and since have been promoted again.
Uh-huh.
And now I've been a lead representative for about 8 years now.
I see.
So I take care of the southwest area of Georgia.
Okay. And is that at 4 times the pay now with that second promotion?
Yeah.
4 times 0.
Multiply that by 0, and you figured it out.
I know the feeling. I'm a FAASTeam lead rep as well, and you do it because you love it and you want to give back to the aviation industry, not because it's worth it monetarily. But that's great. Well, I'm glad you do that. I'm glad you do that. Well, Gary, I'm sure you've had good training in the Air Force when you started, and since then with Pratt & Whitney. What do you do for continuing education training or self-development in your role?
Well, one of the things I do because I am a private pilot, both aircraft single engine land and lighter than air balloon. So I participate in all the wings activities and activities from other organizations like the Balloon Federation of America. They have several training opportunities throughout the year. I'm currently working on my commercial certification for ballooning, so I'm going through training. As far as education, I kind of gave a break with education. I completed my second master's degree back in 2015.
Wow.
So now I've been focusing on technical training and improving my skills as a balloon pilot.
Very good. How many hours of balloon piloting do you have?
Well, I'm a low time pilot compared to most folks. I'm just over 50 hours as pilot command in a lighter than air balloon.
I see. And I imagine that's quite thrilling. Do you have your own balloon?
No, actually, I share a balloon with two other individuals here in town. We currently have 3 balloons, and since I'm an A&P I maintain all 3 balloons.
Uh-huh.
And then work as I'm actually a Balloon Federation of America Master Crew Chief.
Very good.
So I perform all the maintenance on it and then work along the crew, and then we kind of rotate as far as who's going to fly. Like just yesterday, we took up 2 balloons and loaded our baskets up and maintained our social distancing and had a good flight yesterday morning.
You can maintain social distancing within the basket?
No, not in the basket, but
okay.
My wife's not concerned with being exposed to me.
Okay.
So she
That's
hopped
good.
in the basket with me, and the other balloon was quite off in the distance, so we could yell at each other from balloon to balloon, but it was all good fun. And where we normally flying closer to the city, we went out in the country so we wouldn't disturb anybody or infringe on anybody's social distance space.
Yeah, or drift into the Army's firing range area either there near Columbus, huh?
No, we're very mindful of where Fort Benning is and Lawson Field.
I'm sure. I'm sure. Well, that's good. You know, I hadn't thought of this before, Gary, but you know, I'm always looking at in the logbooks for my aircraft for the annual inspection. I'm sure you have to do something similar to balloons. Is that correct each year?
Yes, that is correct. It's just like any other certificated aircraft. So if you're going to operate the aircraft for instruction purposes, then we still have the 100-hour requirement or the annual inspection, whichever comes first. The one thing that is unique to balloons, that there are some restrictions as far as what we test, like the fabric. So a balloon can actually be tested and be certified to only a 50-hour interval that's
Oh,
being used for training.
I
So,
see.
and it depends on the condition that you find during the annual inspection and the owner's preference. But most of the time, people, they don't fly 100 hours in any given year, you know, just like any other general aviation aircraft. So
Right.
we just do the annual inspection. But
Yeah.
it's a complete inspection, just like any other aircraft, except for we're inspecting a basket or gondola, the envelope. We disassemble, clean, and replace gaskets and O-rings and the burners and put them back together, and then do a test run on it. So
I see. You just don't no need to check wing attachment bolts or anything like that on a balloon, I guess. Huh?
no, we check cables and load tapes.
Right. Yeah.
So
Well, that's great. Well, that's very interesting. I've had the pleasure of going up in a hot air balloon before, but never have spoken with in detail with someone as skilled as you are in that. Well, Gary, I'm sure dedicated aviation professionals like you no doubt volunteer your efforts. You mentioned something about the Wings program, and you provide pro bono services to your fellows in the aviation community. Can you share with what you do? Share with us what you do as a volunteer.
sure. You might consider me as an avid volunteer. I enjoy getting involved in the aviation community. Like I said, I started as aviation safety counselor when I retired from the Air Force, and now I'm a FAASTeam lead representative. I currently serve on two program advisory committees here in the state of Georgia, one at South Georgia Technical College, their A&P program, and at the Aviation Institute of Maintenance up in North Georgia in Duluth, Georgia. And then I also am the president of my local chapter of the EAA, and I serve on the National Chapter Advisory Council.
Wow, sounds like you're pretty busy when you're not working at Pratt and Whitney. Your day is filled with all kinds of things, huh?
Yeah, it keeps me busy, keeps my mind occupied, and I really enjoy it.
I'm
Like I
sure it,
said, I really enjoy participating in my aviation community.
well, good. And I'm sure they benefit greatly from your involvement in your pro bono work. Well, thank you very much for what you give back to the aviation community, Gary. So you said you're also a private pilot, fixed wing?
Yeah, I actually started out, I was, I guess you'd say, real late to the game. I've been an EAA member for a long time. In fact, I'm coming up on 30 years. My
Wow.
wife actually introduced me to EAA. And we've been to Oshkosh several times and we really enjoy that. Been to Sun and Fun several times. And after I retired from the Air Force, my daughter and I were actually at a hockey game. And my wife called me up and she says, "Hey, they're doing an auction over here at the school and they're auctioning off private pilot lessons." She says, "Do you want me to try and bid on it?" I said, "Sure, don't spend too much money." So she bid on some lessons, and she was already a private pilot from college days. And so she bid on the lessons, and I started private pilot certification, got my fixed wing certificate, and then I was at an EAA chapter meeting, and my good buddy Joel Jones showed up at the EAA chapter meeting with a balloon,
Oh my
and he
goodness.
said, and we were having a burger burn out at the airport, and he was actually showing up to because he needed crew because ballooning you can't do by yourself.
Yeah.
It's a group activity. It takes crew every time you fly. So Joel came out and he was looking for crew. We set up and did a tether out at the airport. So I went up on a tether up about 50 feet with him. And I said, "Man, this is really nice. I'd like to try untethered sometime." So he called me up in a few weeks and he says, "Hey, I'm going to take a flight. I've got a customer I'm going to fly and I've got an open spot in the basket. Do you want to go?" I took the flight and I fell in love with low and slow.
Oh, good for you. Good for you.
There's something about flying just above the treetops, enjoying the scenery, God's green earth down here in South Georgia. There's trees everywhere. It's absolutely beautiful. So then 2 weeks later, I took off and went to my first balloon festival, the Alabama Jubilee up in Decatur, Georgia, and I've been hooked on it ever since. So
wow, sounds like a lot of fun, and I'm sure you get a lot of enjoyment out of ballooning as well as fixed wing pilot. And it's great that both you and your wife have an interest in aviation. That makes it really nice as well. That's good. That's good. Well, Gary, we're about to run out of time here, but I wanted to ask, is there a safety message you'd like to share with our audience from your perspective as an AMT and as a FAASTeam representative for the FAA?
yes, there is. One of the things that I think is really important in the general aviation community are type clubs. And I've got several folks that have talked to me about this before. And a couple of things have happened here recently that just lend weight to that. So the NAFI Master website, they have Mentor Live. So I believe it's the third Wednesday of every month. They put on a presentation, have well-known speakers come on there. And Tom Turner, who happens, you probably know him, he's the one of the executive directors for the American Bonanza Society. He came on just this past March, and he gave a presentation. He talked about how important type clubs are to instructors. So the instructor knows how to properly train a student in the aircraft that they're training them on. And then since I'm a lifelong EA member, the May issue of Sport Aviation has a really nice article on there talking about the type clubs and how that any pilot can benefit from type clubs. But I'd like to add a little bit to that. Since I am an A&PIA, type clubs are not only beneficial to pilots, they're beneficial to enthusiasts for that aircraft, they're individual to safety related people, they're of interest to A&Ps that maintain those aircraft. And Tom Turner did a real good job of explaining that a type club has decades of knowledge from people that have operated and maintained that type of aircraft. So it's really important for people in general aviation to have those resources available to them by
Yes, indeed. So a little bit of an audio technical difficulty there, but let me jump in, Gary. I couldn't agree with you more. So I am a Bonanza owner and an operator and a member of the American Bonanza Society and that type club. I know Tom Turner, he's a colleague of mine. And of course, I'm a huge proponent of type clubs as well. They do a lot towards helping pilots, enthusiasts, and as you mentioned, A&Ps become more familiar with and utilize all the resources that are available for owners and operators of those aircraft. Well, Gary Brossett, Regional and National FAASTeam Member of the Year, I'm very proud of you, and I'm very happy that you were able to join us today. Please accept our appreciation for all you do for our aviation industry, and congratulations again on your tremendous accomplishment as a General Aviation Regional and National Award winner. And to our audience, may I remind you that you have been watching a pre-recorded interview broadcast by the Florida Aviation Network, a cooperative effort with the National Aviation Safety Foundation. You can view this and many other broadcasts on our YouTube channel, accessed from the website floridaaviationnetwork.com. And your tax-deductible contributions to the 501c3 corporation are most welcome. I'm Ron Timmermans, a host for the Florida Aviation Network, wishing you many joys and safe flights. Thank you for watching.